We've all seen it in the movies. The decadent Roman banquet. An emperor, draped in a fine toga, lounging on a couch, feasting on delicacies you can't even imagine, until he physically cannot eat another bite. Then, he calmly excuses himself to a purpose-built room, the vomitorium, only to come back with an empty stomach, ready for another round of roasted peacock. It's the ultimate picture of excess, of a society so decadent it made itself sick, just for fun. That image has been burned into our collective imagination as a symbol of moral rot. But what if I told you the whole thing is basically a lie? What if the vomitorium, the ultimate icon of Roman gluttony, was actually just a historical smear campaign, a myth created to slander their legacy? The truth isn't just different, it's way more interesting. All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. The idea that rich Romans had special rooms for purging during feasts is completely, utterly false. It's a myth that has stuck around for centuries, mostly because of a simple misunderstanding and our collective love for juicy stories about ancient scandals. There isn't a single piece of archaeological evidence, not one surviving architectural plan of a Roman villa, that has ever shown a room designed for group vomiting. So, if it wasn't a chamber for overindulgent partygoers, what on earth was a vomitorium? The answer is surprisingly simple, and a testament to Roman engineering. A vomitorium was a key feature of their massive public venues, like the Colosseum. Think about it. How do you get 50,000 screaming fans in and out of a stadium quickly and safely? You use vomitoria. The name comes from the Latin verb vomere, which means to spew forth. But it wasn't spewing food, it was spewing people. The vomitoria were the huge vaulted passageways under the tiered seats that let the crowds be disgorged, or vomited, out of the stadium and into the streets after a show. They were basically the ancient version of the exit tunnels in a modern sports stadium. The Colosseum had dozens of these, and they were so well designed that tens of thousands of spectators could pour out in just a few minutes. It was a marvel of crowd control, but the name was purely architectural. So how did a feat of public engineering get confused with a private purge room? Where did this bizarre idea even start? The mix-up seems to have really taken hold in the 19th century, when writers and scholars were obsessed with both the grandeur and the supposed moral collapse of the Roman Empire. They read ancient texts describing Roman excess, stumbled upon a very suggestive word like vomitorium, and connected dots that were never actually there. For example, in 1871, a French politician described a big Christmas dinner as a Roman feast, in which the vomitorium is not wanting. The idea was already floating around, but it was really cemented in pop culture in the 20th century. Aldous Huxley used the word in its incorrect sense in a 1923 novel. Then, the influential historian Lewis Mumford flat out and wrongly defined a vomitorium in a 1961 book as a place where overeaters could go to throw up. After that, Hollywood ran with it, and the myth became an accepted fact. The story of a room dedicated to gluttony was just way more scandalous and memorable than the boring truth about crowd control. Now, just because the vomitorium is a myth, does that mean Roman feasts were tame, polite little dinners? Absolutely not. The kernel of truth that let the myth grow is that some Romans, especially the emperors, did engage in some truly shocking gluttony. Ancient writers like Suetonius and Cassius Dio left behind some scandalous accounts of what the emperors were up to. They tell us about Emperor Claudius, who would reportedly stuff himself so full of food and wine that he'd use a feather to make himself vomit just to get some relief. But even Claudius had nothing on Emperor Vitellius. Vitellius was so famous for his bottomless appetite that he supposedly held 3 or 4 massive feasts a day. He'd send the Roman navy across the sea just to get the rarest delicacies, like pheasant brains and flamingo tongues. One historian snarkily remarked that Vitellius was just nourished by the mere passage of the food, implying he vomited between meals to keep his endless feasting cycle going. But here's the critical part. These accounts were written as scathing criticisms. For a proper Roman, self-control or temperantia was a core virtue. A man was supposed to be devoted to his family, the gods, and the state, not his stomach. The philosopher Seneca the Younger wrote with disgust about the rich elite, saying, "They vomit so that they can eat, and they eat so that they can vomit." For Seneca, this wasn't a fun party trick. It was a moral failing, a sign of men who were no better than animals. So yeah, some emperors did it, but it was seen as shameful, not as a cool, common custom. To really get the Roman feast, or convivium, you have to look past the food. These events were about status, power, and pure spectacle. A rich Roman host wasn't just feeding his guests. He was putting on a show to prove how wealthy and sophisticated he was. The menus were designed to shock and awe. We're talking about dishes from the furthest corners of the empire. Archaeologists have found evidence of feasts with wild boar, suckling pig, pheasant, and a huge variety of seafood. The famous cookbook from Apicius has recipes for camel heels and roasted ostrich. These meals were displays of logistical power. The experience itself was pure theater. Guests would recline on couches, eating with their hands and spoons, while slaves scurried around to clear away bones and scraps. Between courses, there would be musicians, dancers, and poets. The whole night was a carefully staged social ritual designed to show everyone who was boss. The real excess wasn't just in the calories, but in the incredible cost and effort that went into proving your place in the world. There's one last piece to this puzzle: the role of vomiting in Roman medicine. Making yourself throw up was, in fact, a known medical practice. Doctors like Celsus recommended it to cleanse the stomach after getting sick or having a bout of indigestion. But Celsus was crystal clear on one thing. He specifically warned people not to make vomiting a habit of luxury. He saw it as a useful, occasional treatment, but he condemned using it as a tool for gluttony. This distinction is everything. It shows that Romans drew a very clear line between a medical need and a decadent indulgence. Even when Julius Caesar is said to have taken emetics before a dinner, it was because he was on a medical regimen. He didn't vomit to eat more. He took medicine that might make him vomit, so he could enjoy a single pleasant meal without feeling sick. So, the next time you see a movie with Romans stumbling off to the vomitorium, you can have a little smile, knowing the real story. The vomitorium was a brilliant piece of architecture for spewing forth crowds, not a nasty little room for purging. The myth of the vomiting kings is just so powerful because it plays right into our fascination with decline and excess. But it's a caricature, born from a simple language mistake and centuries of judging the past. The reality of the Roman feast is far more complex and honestly, way more fascinating. It was a world of shocking but heavily criticized gluttony by a powerful few. It was an arena for social warfare, where status was proven with extravagant food and entertainment. And it was a society that, much like our own, knew the difference between medicine and excess. The story of the vomiting kings is a perfect reminder of how easily history can be twisted, and how the juiciest stories are often the ones furthest from the truth. If you enjoyed busting this famous historical myth with us, do us a solid and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories we think we know. What other historical facts have you always been a little suspicious of? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your ideas for our next investigation. Thanks for watching.